Good morning. Welcome back to another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas. So, I just talked to my partner yesterday, and I think he got the gig with the Denver mayor's race candidate to run her volunteer side of her campaign. So, he's going to be busy for at least the next couple of months. And if he gets on with them, then he'll probably be busy for, I don't know, 2 to 4 years, I'm guessing. I don't know how long the mayor stays in office. I'm hoping it's 4 years, not for his sake, but just for the people's sake and the mayor's sake. If you do it in 2 years, then, you're basically just getting into office and then starting to run again. It's a pain in the butt. So, that being said, I think I've got some kind of cool things to let you know about. There isn't a lot of information about this first thing. It's fusion. The most information we have about fusion, nuclear fusion, one, it's how the sun powers itself and the rest of the solar system. And two, it's hyper clean. Three, it is relatively inexpensive in that it generates more power than it takes to start the process. So that's a huge plus. It's not going to be viable on a commercial scale for about 10 years or more, but they are the scientists are just so pleased. It's an impressive feat. I am so happy to hear about this. I've been really interested in this since it was a pipe dream when I was a kid, and we just didn't know if it was even really truly possible, at least as far as general population's concerned. It was just a pipe dream. It was just a fantasy. It was a unicorn. And they found it. I'm just so pleased. Like I said, it won't be ready for commercial use for at least 10 years. And I think that's not out of the realm of possibility end date. These guys have been working on this for decades already, and so I think we're right on the edge of it. If we can turn fission, which is what you get in nuclear power plants, if we can turn those power plants into fusion power plants, we can do that on our ships and our subs. We can do that in neighborhoods and whatnot. Oh my gosh, it will literally change the landscape of power in general. My biggest fear, though, is because it takes very little to run, it's almost free and clean energy. There's no nuclear waste. There's no spent rods. There's very little possibility of an actual 3 Mile Island type explosion. I just think this is fantastic. I will try to find a link before I close this out to put into the box there so that you guys know you can go look at that and see what you can find. Most of the articles were very short because I think, honestly, fusion in general is sorry, give me just 1 second. There we go. It's kind of like teleportation. We believe in it. We know it can be done, but the mechanics of it are just so far outside my realm of understanding that I couldn't give you any more information. And I think that's what's going on with the really truly short articles that I've seen. Nobody on top of the fact that nobody really wants to try to explain the mechanics and the mathematics behind fusion, because I'm sure that article is an entire LA Times Sunday division long, and our possibility of truly understanding it is pretty limited, to be honest. At any rate, so that's one thing. I love that thing. I love science. I love all that kind of good stuff. And like I started to say, my only fear is that the powers that be will find a way to charge an exorbitant amount of money for it. Because they can. Because they're in control. So I apologize for I don't know what's going on with my light here. Or maybe it's just my vision of my light, but it seems to be bouncing bright and cold, bright and dark. Maybe I'll try this. turn this back on for a second. I must be sitting in a weird spot. I apologize, guys. Anyway, so there's your one tangent thing that I did. So the next thing I have is what is happening in the 2A community right now is impressive in its width and depth of the left trying to, again, take our rights, despite Bruen, despite McDonald, despite Heller v. DC, despite all of those, California, Chicago land, Illinois in general, Philadelphia, because most of Pennsylvania is actually very 2A, but Philadelphia is very not, and they almost drive all the politics in that state. Maryland, several other states are still writing. New York is one of the biggest ones. They're still writing anti-2A legislation, knowing that it'll have to go through the courts, knowing that it will fail in the courts, and not caring, because it's not their money they're spending. It's your money. And that's where you have to come to play, because Kathy Hochul in New York just got a plus on her legislation to limit where you can carry by like 90% of the state, certainly all of the city, and and its outlying boroughs. It's, to me, it is just a desperate ploy to spend money they don't have. So, they don't own, so it doesn't matter, to make us spend money that we do not have, to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Or, if we get lucky, the Supreme Court selects cases and then puts them back down to the courts below to say, reread this in light of Heller, in light of McDonald, in light of Bruen, and check yourselves. But they're spending money that they don't care about, because it's not their cash that they're worried about. I don't have any idea what's going on with this window back here. I apologize. At any rate, so if you are a 2A supporter, I would suggest, I live in California, so I support CRPA, which is California Rifle and Pistol Association, and GOA, which is Gun Owners of America. I support those two because they have been doing yeoman's work. Just tail kicking, getting in and out of court fast work. We have one judge that we can count on in San Diego County, so whenever they file in San Diego County, and hope to get Judge Benitez, or as some YouTubers call him, Saint Benitez. I don't like to do that, but there, it's out there. So he's done some great things for us. He follows Bruen before Bruen was a thing. So he was following McDonald and Heller. The state doesn't like it when they lose, especially California. They are vindictive politicians. And so when they have to continue the fight, they do. They've lost in Superior Court. They've lost in District Court. They've lost in the Ninth Circuit three-judge panel. And they will lose in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But it takes years to do that. And sometimes because of scheduling or precedents or any number of things, cases that we have in line can jump ahead or back or fall back. And again, this costs money that most of us just don't have. And California had put forth a bill that said, if you lose any of your Second Amendment cases, anything in your Second Amendment cases, you'll have to pay our attorneys. fees. Now, these fees can roll, upward into the millions of dollars if you get all the way to Ninth Circuit, or you go all the way to Supreme Court. I mean, millions of dollars. And making the plaintiff and the plaintiff's attorneys pay those fees was, and on top of that, not being able to get their fees paid when they do win, was found to be unconstitutional by CRPA and GOA and a couple other places. On top of that, the the state's attorney for California says, I can't defend this case, so therefore I'm not going to. Meaning, we just aren't going to let this law run, but we're not going to defend it. So the governor said, I will defend it with my attorneys because he thinks he'll get money out of it, or he somehow thinks he'll win. I don't think he will. I honestly don't believe there's a possibility he can win that case, but he's going to push it. Therefore, it's going to stay in the system for 3 to 5 years before we get to Ninth Circuit, or before we get to Supreme Court if it has to go there. Which means we won't be able to do anything else about any other law in the meantime. So that's all he's doing, is he's just wasting time and money that the state of California does not have. The state of California has said we are now in a budget deficit of upwards of $1 billion. I told you that son of a bitch stole $1 billion for PPE from China that was bad, covered in COVID, had to be burned. But nobody's talking about that. And I know I'm rambling a little bit, but to get back to the 2A thing, we just have to keep fighting the battles. I'm tired of fighting the little battles. We can win all the battles we want. If we never win the war, we will continue to spend money we do not have as a community. And they will continue to spend money that isn't theirs because they can. So, I've told you this before. I am proposing a group of constitutional attorneys to find a way to bring these legislators that vote for and adopt anti-constitutional laws, and a governor that signs them or president that signs them, sue them under, not following their oath of office by defending and protecting the the Constitution. If they're writing anti-constitutional law, then they are not protecting or defending the Constitution. And they're blowing their oath. That's my opinion. I believe the 6th article of the Constitution recognizes that. And we can use that to take them to court. Now, I talked to a couple of people. I told you this before. I talked to a couple of non-attorneys, but who said, well, it's usually just the legislature that can vote whether or not to censure or remove somebody from office. Well, if that's the case, they'll never get removed from office. They'll never have to fight the fire. They'll never have a fire under their ass to do the right thing. And that's not acceptable. So we have to find a way to do it. Legally, obviously, because first off, we aren't big enough we're big enough as a community. We are not cohesive enough to be the threat that they make us out to be. Second, the legal way is truly the way to go. And then removing them from office, taking their seat of power, tells them that wasn't acceptable. And if anybody else comes in and does the same thing, we will take them out of the seat of power as well. That is where the war lies, in my opinion. So I've written to Mark W. Smith at the Four Boxes Diner, somebody you should follow if you believe in Second Amendment and constitutional law. He's really bright. He's written several books. He is on the Supreme Court bar, so he can hear these, or he can prosecute or defend these cases in the Supreme Court, because that's a separate bar from just your state bar. He's a bright dude. You should follow him. The Four Boxes Diner. And oh, there you go. There's my 10 o'clock. So that's all I got for you today, babies. I really love you, and I really do appreciate you guys watching and commenting and all that good stuff. And I will talk to you soon. You have a great day. Live long, fight hard, win the day.